Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Thursday, February 16th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $15 Bank Shop best bet, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Thursday in college hoops. First up, we go to the Pac-12 as Utah takes on Arizona. This one's going to be 10 o'clock Eastern on the Pac-12 network. I'm going to continue to fade Utah when they're playing in these true road games against some of the better teams in the Pac-12. We've seen the Utes really struggle in these true road contests against top 50 teams. They don't have a single win in the top 50 in KenPom in these true road games. They already lost to Arizona by 15 points earlier this season. That was at home back on December 1st. And Arizona only has one loss this year at home. It was an upset loss to Washington State. But they have some really impressive wins on their home court against teams like UCLA and USC in the conference. They also have a nice win against Tennessee at home out of conference. So Arizona, very tough to beat on their home court. They're just a very tough team to game plan against. They're a very fast-paced team on offense. 14th ranked in the country in average possession length offensively, and they're a very good shooting team. So this team can put up plenty of points. I don't think that Utah matches up very well with those types of teams, and there's no surprise to see Utah losing to Arizona by 15 the first time around. Now on the road, I think it's going to be even more difficult for the Utes to stay in this game. So sure, they're coming off back-to-back wins over Cal and Colorado. Both of those games were at home. However, I don't like the Utes' chances in this one on the road. So give me Arizona. I'm going to lay the points. Next up, we go to the Big Ten as Ohio State takes on Iowa. This one's going to be 9 o'clock Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN2. Now, the defense for Ohio State is struggling, and now you're going on the road against an Iowa team that's top 10 in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. They take care of the basketball, and they should be getting plenty of good looks in this game. I think Iowa scores into the 80s, maybe even the 90s in this game. I think we're going to get over the total, so I'm going to look towards the over in this game. Ohio State's last game against Michigan State, super low scoring, 62-41. Iowa in their last game against Minnesota, pretty low scoring, 68-56. Because of those low scoring results, we're getting some value here taking the over in these teams' next game. Ohio State this season, although they've just been so disappointing in conference play, they still are 28th in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. They're playing an Iowa team that's not necessarily worried about the defensive end at all times. They're ranked 143rd in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency. So if there was a breakout game offensively for the Buckeyes, I think this would be it. I mean, they already scored 93 against Iowa in the game earlier this season. So I like the over in this game. I think we're going to see both teams into the 80s, and I think we're going to see Iowa win this game and cover. But rather than taking the spread with the Hawkeyes, I'm just going to take the over. Next up, we go to the Conference USA as Florida Atlantic, FAU, takes on Middle Tennessee. This one's going to be 7 o'clock Eastern. Now, Florida Atlantic's winning games. They're 24-2 overall this season, and their only losses were to an SEC team at the beginning of the season on the road against Ole Miss, and then to UAB, the team that won the conference tournament last year, made it to the big dance and brought back a good amount of players from that team. And they're, the second best team in this conference. That's certainly a very good team. They're top 100 in KenPom ratings this year again. So 2 losses that you can live with if you're FAU. The only problem is when you look at their last 5 games, FAU is 4-1 overall straight up, but they're 1-4 against the number. They did not cover against Western Kentucky in a 7-point win. They lost outright to UAB, so obviously did not cover there, a 9-point loss on the road. They they beat Charlotte by 15 points, so they covered the number in that game, but they failed to cover against Rice as a double-digit favorite at home, and they failed to cover against Louisiana Tech in their last game. That game went to overtime, a 90-85 victory. So when you see FAU winning these games but failing to cover the number, it tells me in one word, overvalued. I think FAU is still a very good team, but I think because of that record, because of that conference record, they're 14-1. Now they're ranked in the AP polls. I think they're overvalued in a lot of these spots. And on the road here against a solid Middle Tennessee team in a pretty tough environment as well, I think that Middle Tennessee does enough to at least cover the number as the home underdog, if not win this game outright. The Blue Raiders are a solid team, a good defense that forces plenty of turnovers, really strong on the offensive glass, good 3-point shooting team, pretty good 2-point shooting team as well that gets to the free throw line. Their defense has kind of been hit or miss this season. It's aggressive, so they force plenty of turnovers. Not the best on the perimeter, which is a little concerning against an FAU team that shoots a good amount of threes and makes them at a good rate. But I think Middle Tennessee are good enough at home. When you look at their record at home this season, last 2 games they played to Western Kentucky and UAB were both losses, but both of those were true road games. The games before that against UTSA and UTEP, they scored 80-plus points. They won both of those games by double digits, and both of those games were at home. You look at some of their wins at home in conference play. They beat UAB, they beat Charlotte, they beat Western Kentucky, they beat Murray State out of conference. So this team is playing really well on its home court, and at home here against the best team in the conference, you can expect this team to really get up for this game and the home crowd as well. Give me the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders. I think they cover the number. I think they have a good shot at winning this game as well. In our next game, we go to the American Conference as Wichita State takes on Temple. This one's going to be 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN+. And the Temple Owls were feeling pretty good. They were on a 4-game win streak, and that included wins on the road against Houston and UCF. But now they have lost 3 straight games. One of those losses, a really bad one, to SMU on the road by a point. They also lost to Houston by double digits and Memphis by 9 points. Their defense has struggled, and I don't really like their chances to cover this number against a Wichita State team that's kind of flying under the radar, in my opinion, in the AAC. You know, a team that's in a program that's definitely historied. I mean, this is a team that a decade ago was one of the best teams out of the mid-major conferences. This season, they're 13-12 overall. They're 6-7 in conference play, so right around the middle of the pack in the AAC standings. But you know, they've beaten some tough teams on the road. I will say this team is not really intimidated to play on the road. They beat Tulsa, they beat East Carolina, they beat SMU, they beat South Florida, all in true road games in this conference. They also have a non-conference win on the road against a solid Richmond team. And this is one of the better defenses in the conference this season, 81st in adjusted defensive efficiency, one of the best perimeter defenses in the conference, and certainly one of the best 2-point field goal defenses in the AAC this year, really in the country, top 15 for Wichita State. Now, the offense has struggled shooting the basketball at times, but they take care of the ball. Good offensive rebounding team, and I think they're going to be competitive in this game. So I'm going to take the points here with the Wichita State Shockers and fade the Owls, who are not in good form. And the final game we're going to talk about for Thursday's card in college basketball, it's going to be in the Pac-12 as Oregon State takes on Washington State. This one 11 o'clock Eastern on ESPNU. Oregon State has just not played very well on the road in conference play, really overall this season. They only have one true road win this year. That was against the weakest team other tthan Oregon State in the conference, in Cal. That was a 68-48 win, and in that game, Oregon State had an unbelievable night from three, 13-24, 54.2%, while Cal only made 3 3-pointers themselves, 20% shooting from the perimeter. It was just kind of a perfect storm type of game for Oregon State, but overall, this has not been a very good shooting team. They're 319th in the country in effective field goal percentage. They're miserable on the glass. Both offensive and defensive rebounding numbers have not been good. That's concerning against a Washington State team that's top 100, really top 80 in offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding. So Oregon State's going to be held to 1 shot per trip, and they're going to have to run the risk of giving up a lot of second chance looks to the Cougars on the road here. Just really not a good spot for Oregon State, in my opinion. You know, they're off a nice win, an upset win over USC in their last game, so this is just a classic letdown spot on the road here. You look at the last couple of road games for Oregon State. They scored 52 points against Arizona in a 32-point loss to the Wildcats in that one. The game before against Arizona State, they only scored 57 points on the road in another double-digit loss. I can't trust Oregon State on the road. Their offense just has not showed up in most of these true road games. Washington State, although it's not been a great year, it's certainly a down year in terms of what the Cougars expect each year. They still have a pretty good home court advantage in most of their games in conference play. Maybe not the most motivated game you'll see, from Washington State as they're playing one of the weaker teams in the conference, but I still think the Cougars show up and win this game and cover the number in the end. A lot of advantages here statistically for Washington State, in my opinion. So give me the Cougars. I'm going to lay the points, and that's my pick to end the night. And that's it. Those are the games for Thursday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.